Hi, I'm Becca St. James, the creator of EDancer, back for part 4 of chapter 1. And if you have enjoyed listening to these audiobooks that I'm doing for you, then please blog about it, send it to friends, send it to enemies, talk it up, and by all means, feel free to contact me at P.O. Box 1255, Novato, California 94948 with any of your responses, comments, or definitely donations. Okay, part 4, chapter 1. All anyone could make out was, "They killed her, they killed her." The police tried to question CJ, but she was no longer reachable. CJ was taken to county and treated for severe post-traumatic stress disorder. She and Dusty had always shared in every event of their lives together. Dusty in some way was trying to share the final event of her life with CJ, yet she might as well have poured gasoline on her too, because this would be a long road to recovery for CJ. 4 days later, Jasmine is sitting on the back porch of the house, dressed in black for the funeral. This was not the only funeral she had attended for a stripper sister. Attending funerals for a fellow co-worker in this business is not an uncommon task. They happen more often than they are welcome to happen. They are almost always suicide or drug-related deaths. Not that we are excluded from the awful truth that death can extend out to other circumstances, such as a boyfriend boiling over from jealousy who could possibly commit murder. Let's not forget the horrible incident up in Seattle where someone with a gun came into a club and just opened fire on the girl on stage. That kind of stuff happens all the time. It was heartbreaking. I never worked in Seattle, but I remember hearing that she was supporting 2 kids who went to foster care. The guy that killed that dancer was just one more self-appointed nut playing God like so many. They think they are doing God's work, but I am here to tell you God and Jesus and all the heavens are not happy with all the things people do in the name of God, and they better watch it, because there is a special place where they will go when their time comes. God appreciates the people who worry about their own wrongdoing and leave the rest to God. God only knows that dying in the business of erotic dancing is a sad but true occupational hazard of the business. How do I know all this? I am an angel. And we angels know all about God. I am also an angel who was once a stripper back when I was human. I bet you're thinking, how many angels write books or produce TV shows? A lot of angels do a lot of good in the name of God. No horror shows, mind you. We just work on the good-feeling, truth-saying ones. I bet you're asking, is it even allowed to be an angel after you've been a stripper? I'm sure Jesse Helms would have said no, but God forgave him for all the hatred that came out of his mouth, so why wouldn't he let strippers become angels? I think there is a rule about loving humanity in the angel handbook, so maybe next lifetime for him. Now, back to Jasmine. Jasmine had lived in her house for 12 years. This was the house she bought originally with Cassandra, yet they had only had a chance to live in it together for 2 years before Cassandra died. Jasmine is a dancer at the One Stop Sexy Shop, a club up on O'Farrell Street, which is 5 steps up in caliber from the sleazy Market Street Club where Dusty worked. The Market Street Club was known amongst the dancers as the enema. It needed an enema too. Fuck the usual way of cleaning, just hose it down with a power blaster hose. I bet you're thinking, she doesn't sound very angelic. Well, my boss knows I have a mouth like a sewer and a heart of gold, so he overlooks it. It's hard to change old habits. Anyway, the enema was the club that way back in my day you only worked at when they did a laying off spree at the One Stop Sexy Shop. Back then, there were only 3 clubs in the whole city worth working at. Now there are a whole bunch of clubs because stripping's gone corporate. Believe it or not. Anyway, the club called it rotation. They rotated us so that every 6 months, whether you liked it or not, they'd lay you off. And then you could come back in a few months if you were good. The corporate mob is in charge now at most clubs, and they own every club in the city except for the one-stop sexy shop. I hear the Mirage Company even has a deal in the works for the candy shop. Rumor has it they offered the one-stop $50 million, but that is the club's revenues for a year, so duh, of course they would laugh at it. Each customer pays $60 a head to get in, and the girls all pay $250 to $400 a shift now to work there. They call it a payout, tip-out, or a stage fee. The sexy shop owners will never sell, though, because they make so much money. Jasmine and I were both there way back a year after it opened, and she's still there today. She's 41 with a body that looks the same as when she was 21, except for her breasts. Jazz is augmented in all the right places. I met her when she was 23. She had beautiful long strawberry blonde curly hair, blue-green eyes with a petite frame and B-cup breasts until she got an overhaul, and then she went up to a C-cup. Though the job insecurities did drive her to the plastic surgeon, Jasmine was smart and had the right plastic surgery at the right times and in the right places. That's how they do it in Hollywood. At the first sign of aging or sagging, they're off to the doctor. She was one of the few dancers who had managed to spend a quarter of a century in the business of erotic dancing without ending up in a using drug addict, a mental patient, or body bagged at a homicide. The only girls at the sexy shop that were there when I was there is Lila, who's 5 years younger than Jasmine, and Trinity, who's 3 years younger. They are both lifers like Jazz and started around 18 or 19. Jasmine was the first person to talk to Trinity at the sexy shop when she started. You never forget those acts of kindness. It's so hard to get a leg up when you start working at any club. The girls ice you and treat you like shit until they get to know you. When the girls are forced to look at your face day after day, they finally reconcile to your inevitable existence. The best thing you can do is lay low until the girls warm up to you. Trinity and Jasmine are both in NA and AA, and Jasmine has 20 years this year. When I was alive, Jazz would really give me a run for my money. I always thought it was great to have a hard hustler to work with. It so inspired me to work harder. Jasmine has a sweet, sober personality, and her maturity is what makes her a mark for the obsessive delight of any customer wishing to escape the dreary ho-hum of married life. This is the married life that, like so many of its kind, is made up of 2 people, once blissfully in love, yet now complacent to recreate the long-lost fires of its earlier years. Now the concern of these once so eager to please wives are spa days and shopping, and the nights out with the girls. Little did the guys realize that any dancer they regularly endowed with their presence and cash would be no different than their wives. The dancers knew that allowing the guys to ritualize them with offerings of our modern-day version of frankincense, myrrh, gold, and precious jewels would hook them in, making them feel a sense of loyalty. These guys could then pick a dancer to focus their loyalties on, and there would be no more guilt burdening them of their disloyalties to their wives. This was the loyalty they could no longer give to their wives because the thrill was gone. It was some rationale, but it worked for them. The difference is here that the dancer will remain eager to please and keep the fires going because they have no contract binding them in legal matrimony. So regularized and ritualized, the guys came and went to somewhat get their needs met. Of course, there were the single guys too. I think why a lot of the guys like Jasmine was they sensed her maturity, but under the lights she looked 20-something. In the daytime she looked like she was in her early 30s. Whether you were looking 20-something or 30-something, they all lined up around the block to have a no-strings-attached, intimacy-free, sensual experience with all the girls.